I'm also at my other lessons from 6 p.m. I have to say goodbye.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So actually, sure, I will try to make it, you know, as much concentrated as possible, and to really share, you know, this week's focus and this week's how to say concept. Sure, we continue the idea of digging deeper into the problem, finding the right problem. You know, for myself, I think if we nail down the right problem, we halfway to successful business. Then it's only the question on how to really, you know, make our proposition and how to build it and how to market it, etc., etc. So it's, you know, I would really say it's you know, halfway to success to really dig deeper into what are we trying to solve and you know, and why and how, etc., etc. So I will share with you, you know, further the concept, going deeper into building the value proposition of our business. If that's okay, I'm gonna go quick so that Darius and Thomas, guys who need to switch off quite soon, so they can also get, you know, maximum. And then of course we will, you know, we will have a little bit of a chat with questions and experiences of your interviews. Good to go? Yes, Darius okay, Dominikas okay, Karina great, Artyomas nice, Eimantas good, Ignai nice. Okay, so here we go. It's just short reminder. After you do your interviews with customers, always try to reflect. What was good? What could be improved? How did it go? You know, what have you learned from the interview? But both, it's also the content-wise, but again, the methodology-wise. You know, next time, what shall I try more or less? You know, maybe I need more pauses. Maybe I need to talk less. Maybe I need to explain less. Because that's an important method, I would say, to really develop ability and skill to understand and to hear, instead of convince or sell or insist or explain. So that's a very important skill for whatever, for this particular idea or for the next ideas that you will be developing. We talked last time with you that to narrow down or to focus on problem finding, we need to define our point of view statement. Our point of view statement says, you know, who needs what, because, you know, blah, 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 why. Without explaining the problem itself, we only focus on the point of view. How are we going to look into that perspective, into our hypothesis? And there we have already some hints about our segmentation, because we say someone who lives in the city is single, needs something because, you know, somewhat. That's already certain hints about a segmentation, but I'm going to talk a little bit more today. So point of view statement narrows down a little bit of our, you know, research. We might end up with wrong answer after we have done research. So we go back to point of view statement and we fix it, we change it. It's like you know, it's like looking through a specific diamond. You know, we move it a little bit and then we have a different angle. We move it a little bit, you know, and then again we have a different angle. So that's an important moment to focus ourselves, which is that point of view that we try to look through. And that's when I asked you to try and write down the value proposition. So some of you have sent me already, to double check. I didn't reply yet, because today is more explanation about building the value proposition. So, afterwards I will read, I will comment, of course, but I didn't want to, run in front of the train. So what does that value proposition canvas and other words, customer survey help us to do? We need to remember there are, 5 phases or 5 steps to create, the killer value proposition, the one that customers could not refuse. So I'm going to go quickly through all of these 5 steps, but that will be the segment, the problem, the scope, the solution, and the benefit. And let me quickly go through each of them and show a little bit of tips how to deal with each of these and what forms we could also use. Target segment. We've been talking a little bit at the very beginning of our program in the initial seminar. We can't satisfy everyone in the market. There are, I don't know companies that could satisfy each of the person on the planet. Segmentation is inevitable because we need to focus our resources. We need to focus marketing resources. We need to focus and sharpen our value proposition. We need to create our identity, our image, so that's something that is necessary so that we can compete in the market. So segmentation, what type of person is most likely to spend money for our product or solution? If we don't know, this is, no-go situation. It means we need to then dig deeper or dig wider. So we need to understand what segment has this biggest pain, what segment is also capable of paying us money for the solution. Because sometimes we focus on the segment that is nice to have, that is nice to help, but maybe they can't afford it. So it's from the very beginning, we start thinking about, possibility or potential of doing business. Some of you have already segments and have already quite well defined it. But again, this is just to come to one single starting point with all of you, with all of your teams. So segmentation. There are different layers of segmentation: behavioral, psychological, geographical, demographical. I'm not gonna give you too much of the theory. You can simply Google segmentation and that's it. But just maybe to mention that I feel like there's a little bit change in the segmentation. In general, there's a little bit less academical segmentation, which was like, the salary, the social status, the gender, difference, or etc. It's now more about behavior, about psychology, about attitude, about values even. So there is a shift, but again, you will be talking a lot more about segmentation probably with Aurelia when you will talk about the marketing of your business. But at this moment, I always like to know who's gonna pay us the most. Then it's a problem. Another step, defining the problem. Remember, I've told you about the value canvas. So pains, gains, or customer jobs. So it's important because if we focus on one problem, our team can focus on it as well. Then everybody knows what we have to do. If we have multiple problems, then we could be easily distracted. You know, resources could be easily, how to say, reallocated and broken down into pieces, and then we can fall into struggle to really do an impact or really do a change with focused resources, with allocated resources, with combined resources. So it's the, you know, the better, you know, how to say, the narrower, the stricter is the better, you know. So later we can add many things on top: the easiness, the speed, the design, the aesthetics, the, you know, this and that, the smell, the aroma, the whatever. But let's begin with, you know, one single concrete problem. With some of you on our one-on-ones, you know, there were issues with concrete problem definition. So it's about the time to really, you know, to work on it. It's not a problem. I mean, those 2 weeks are for this exact topic. The scope. We cannot satisfy all the needs of the customer. You know, we cannot satisfy all the customers, so the way we cannot satisfy all the needs of the customer. That's why businesses focus. That's why we say we focus on this and that. We don't do rest. If we focus on, I don't know, we take the Ryanair example. If we focus on price, we don't do luxury seating. We don't do premium service. It's what it takes, you know, it's what it costs. We can't do everything. So this is where if we want to be sharp in the market, if we want to be recognized as the best in class, best in particular proposition, then we have to be uncompromised and strict on this. So the scope of value proposition, you know, we can define it again using this table, which is given here. It will be on Artyomas. The road, please. You will get all the PowerPoint slides, and we want you live. So the idea is that when we list everything here, we can try and figure out priorities. And this is where we think, okay, this segment of, I don't know, the midlife, you know, male living in the city, single, etc., what, you know, what pains, gains, or customer jobs he has, of what priority, which of these priorities he would quickly pay money for. So this is a little bit working again and again, like processing all your materials that you get from those interviews and putting them into specific order. Of course, if we would have the live session of this start, we would do the full design thinking process with, you know, post-its and methods and different stuff. But I think we can handle this online as well. The solution, the step of the solution is where we match the need. So the circle one, so pains, gains, and customer jobs, with already our proposition, our idea, either it's gain creator, pain reliever, or product and service. So I will quickly try and explain how to fill in these and where do those two meet, how to work with this model. But the idea is that we create for the customer based on his needs. The benefits, the step of the benefits, is where we list down, you know, features, functions, technical values, business values, and personal values. It could be that we don't have all of these included, but the ones that we have, together with solving the problem that I have, we should think of it and list them down, because it could be that this will help us to define the competitive advantage in the future. If we want to be just another, I don't know, another provider or another kebab kiosk, I don't know. So it's something that is needed to be different. When you will think of the problem that you are trying to solve, there will be, in those slides, there will be some supportive questions. You know, go through it again and again and again. Why am I giving all these supportive questions? One of the how to say, one of the most dangerous traps in startup life, in young company life, is falling in love with your idea. It's an important ability to question your idea, you know, many times. Some of you have done these ideas already for years, 2, 3, you know, up to 10 years. So imagine after 10 years of working on a project to really hear from someone that, look, this is outdated. It's hard, you know, I can't believe it. You know, the crazy lecturer, take him out of the program, you know, he ruins my dreams, you know, something like that. But this is what it takes. This is where I want us to be very critical. To be very critical, you know, in the context of your idea. Is it really that we are solving a problem? Is it really, you know, I don't care what you're gonna do after this program ends. You can come back to your beloved idea and continue it. Of course, if we are successful, if we repeat ourselves that this is great, the market needs, we see the segment, we see clear problem, and our solution really works, fantastic. I'm more than happy. But these are things, these are supportive questions to help you, how to say, to help you revise your hypothesis and your ideas. It's, you know, the ideas that I like are usually monetizable, scalable, problem-oriented, interesting to investors, and of course, connecting all the stakeholders so that people want, you know, this business. They want to invest, they want to work, they believe you. So it's something in between, you know, purpose and solution and product, so that people just simply stick to it. Armina doesn't agree, and she wants to add something.
No, I totally agree. I have a question actually. What makes, what's good for investors? Is it something you said scalable, makes money, good for investors? What does good for investors mean?
I can answer this question to you, but I don't want to answer, just sharing my feeling right now. Armina, we don't do it for investors, first of all. But again, you know, it's my personal approach. Investors can only help us grow faster. You know, that's remember this Simon Sinek's start with why. If your why is strong enough, we will find the way how to attract investors. Because, okay, so, and now comes the answer, Armina. First of all, investors invest in teams, not businesses. So the rule number one is what investors look for are people. They care a little bit less than we can imagine about the business itself. So first of all, it's team and people who do the job. Because one thing that is, you know, and that's for sure, you know, all my friends, investors, they confirm. First of all, I try to understand, is this team capable of facing the real life challenges and doing the dirty job daily to make this business come true? And sometimes, you know, how to say, sometimes the average idea could be well done by strong team. And, you know, the brilliant idea could be screwed up by the weak people. So number one thing is the team. Number two, of course, it's the scalability, how big this business can go. Because, you know, it's a little bit of a, you know, that investor phases, you know, the pre-seed, the seed, the A, the B, the C, the D, and then someone at the end buys everything. So, you know, what they want, if we think about attracting the investment capital, so they need fast growth so that they can go through these rounds quite quickly. Other words, they can get their money back quickly. So they want to earn quickly. So the growth is very important, the scalability, so the market size. If we go and say, okay, our market size is Lithuania, end of story. Nobody will pay attention to market size Lithuania. So scalability and you know, global or you know, European, so they need numbers, of course. And the third thing I would say, when I'm listening to pitches, you know, I listen to what's the problem. Is there a need in the market? Or is it that something that we try and, you know, create? Or it's really a real need out there, people, you know, are willing to pay for it, and you know, just there was no maybe proper proposition in the market. Maybe nobody just simply paid attention. Maybe nobody did it right. Maybe user experience currently is awful. And this is where we go into, this is what we do. So if you would say, Ermina, narrow down to top three, so I would say team, scalability, and the clarity of the problem. Of course, you can go, you know, deeper and go beyond, you know, 10 to 20 or 30 slides telling the market size, telling the business plan, the monetization model, etc., etc., etc. But you know, for the very beginning, I think these three would be enough. Of course, problem. So dig deeper, dig deeper, dig deeper. So this will be the supportive questions for you in your teams, or you with your, you know, with your own team. you please consult yourself. You know, why person would pay for it? Why person should consider you? Why a person, I don't know, put some efforts, you know, adopting to your proposition, your proposal. Because remember, the best business is where real need already exists. I would, you know, if I would be to invest, I would invest into something that people already have the need of, just maybe a better, you know, a better way to do it, a better way to serve. Look, you are too young to remember, but there were times when we used to go to a bank to make a money transfer. I know it sounds like, you know, awful dinosaur times, but I've been there, done that. Yes, I'm old already. But, and imagine, you know, when you have, you know, to go physically to a bank, you introduced absolutely mobile banking. People would simply go out crazy, you know, they could not handle with it. So, but in general, the banking operations as a need, it existed already. It's the same again happening with self-service cashiers in supermarkets. If you would introduce it at the very beginning, people would not know how to use it. But now when you actually adopt, when you kind of help them educate, etc., I think, let's say, we can bet in 5 years, there will be more self-service cashiers than the physical ones with the cashier person inside. So actually, you know, with supportive questions, go through your insights from the interviews. And again, don't forget that emotional part. What really triggered your people, your interviewers? Where did they actually smile? Where did they become excited? When they were talking with passion, or when it was like, ah, not again, you know. So this is something that again is very important for you to remember. So a little bit of practical tips. Number one, don't be afraid to find the truth. The hardest one, I would say. We might not like what people say out there, but we have to be ready to hear it. It's that we want truth, but not to be right ones. So instead of asking, would you pay whatever price for solution, think, you know, and play around. Never ask those opinion questions when we investigate. I avoid all these, you know, I would pay like 1,000 euros for, you know, half-a-day seminar. Just when time comes to pay, there's no customers for it. And of course, don't hurry to implement every request of your customer. At the very beginning, when we are a young company and we hear a customer says, oh, we would like this feature as well, what do we usually do? We run to implement it because the customer said he wants. But you know, but we are distracted from the strategy, from the direction. Our resources are distracted. You know, our timing is then collapsing, you know, from what we wanted to deliver. We think the customer needs it, but there are too many too many practical examples of startups of when they started to grow was the time when they focused and they started refusing the customers, you know, all these, I want this, I want that, I want blue, you know, whatever, click button or I want red, or, you know. So there is at certain point a need to really focus very much on what do we do and what is that we don't do. I remember one friend of mine, he started also a startup. They suddenly raised 1.5 million for expansion into Polish market. And they started actually focusing and growing when they said, we don't do customized software. They are a solution for force field or for the field workers that go outside and, let's say, tractor maintenance, equipment maintenance at the customer side and somewhere in the woods in the field. And they, you know, at the very beginning, they were trying to please each customer and they were messed up, absolutely. Their developers, their back-end developers, the programmers were overburned, you know, they were hardly making everything on time. So narrowing down sometimes really helps. But again, it depends on the topic and on the idea, and of course on your business model. You know, what are you getting paid? Of course, just to repeat myself, when you do interviews, all those notes that you make are very important. Don't be afraid or ashamed to get, you know, to go back very often to those notes and try to remember and you know, go back to the stories of your respondents or your interviewers. It really helps, how to say it, to I don't know what's the English words, but to kind of, you know, personalize all that experience, you know, to switch your empathy on, to try imagine and feel your potential customer. So, you know, I for myself, when I design or I consult companies, you know, I always try to empathize very much with their customers. And of course, semi-structured interview is something that I like very much because you don't need too much of the preparation. You know, I have 3 questions and I started and I go forward. Our problem is a little bit in business and in startup life is that we try to know too much. Sometimes it's better to really, I'm okay to know, you know, partly of what I need to know and go out and test. Because until I know everything, the time has passed. You know, the right moment might be already, you know, left behind. It's because of the, you know, all the speed around us and all the competitors. If you're thinking of the idea that you are thinking right now, just believe me, there are 100 people at the same time thinking about the same idea somewhere on the globe. So that's why we also have to be quite fast. So when we define those gains, pains, and customer jobs, we could, again, you will have this material, you will have those supportive questions to put these gains, pains, and customer jobs into certain priority list. Yes, Augustinas, it's too early for the break.
No, not that.
Okay, that's okay.
A very quick question, Agnes. I wanted to know if in startup world there is any place for the ambition of the founders themselves to create something particular. So instead of focusing too much on what client wants, perhaps sometimes a founder can also or must also focus a little bit on what he himself or she herself want to build. And if that turns out to be not the #1 issue in the market, would that be a deal breaker? I hope the question is clear.
Yeah, I hope it's clear. Absolutely, yes, Augustin. But, you know, the question is, how much money does the founder have? You know, is it okay to support this idea for 5, 6, 10 years, you know, because you need resources to really get into the market. I'm thinking about those, you know, what I am explaining here, it's more about how to catch that, you know, that unicorn beast as soon as possible, so that the market itself actually pulls you, you know, and you grow. There's of course, there's another approach, and there's a lot of people talking about it, about the bootstrapping, about growing without investors, you know. But I think it's also, then it's even more important to really nail it to the need, so that we are taken by the market, you know, instead of fighting fighting the resistance, creating, you know, some new habits or behaviors, you know. Imagine I think of an idea that eating whatever shampoo, drinking shampoo for the breakfast is the best diet ever. You know, so I would, you know, I would have to convince society. I would have to, you know, support the research. I would have to market it. I would have to communicate it very widely. Imagine, Augustine, if at the end, when I already prepared all the markets, when people are, you know, already convinced of drinking shampoo, there are 5 sorts of competitors and there's 5 flavors of shampoo for your breakfast. You know, it's the long journey to create the need, huge investments, and you are not sure if you will be the only one in the market at the end of this preparational journey. So that's why I'm kind of, you know, more on that side. Let's see where the market takes us, so that it's easier. We can call it cheaper. We can call it easier to attract investors. You know, it's so this is something that that's my point, kind of. Bon appetit, Artyomai. I hope you are not driving. Well, I see you're.
No, I have a stop. Thank you for your care.
Nice. So I'm not, Augustinai, is it a little bit?
Yes, I understood. The question I asked, of course, is very broad, so it's hard for you to answer in few words. But
just,
yeah, I got general.
Augustinai, one example, one single example. Look, what happened, you know, with in the, I'm a non-smoker, but you know, in the cigarette business, you know, the Philip Morris, who owns the market almost, you know, like, I don't know the percentage of the market share, but they are enormous. And that industry is enormously high. So when they have piles of money, they can actually change the behavior. So what they started doing with these IQOS, you know, like they called it I quit ordinary smoking, so changing the habit of smoking. But you know, they are, you know, the market leader. Even when the market is shrinking, they are making enormous amounts of money, and they are trying to change the, how to say, to change the whole product. But I want you to understand, you know, what power is needed to really make it, you know. If you would be from the zero, from the scratch, it's long journey to go. I think it's. I wish it could be easier, but then the reality is quite the brutal one. So there will be in your slides, there will be these supportive questions. When you put down all the gains that you investigated through your interviews, try to think through all these questions. You know, what would make customers' life easier? What quality customer needs? Should it be customized or standard? How much customer likes and feels, you know, what do they feel in a particular situation? How would you encourage to try it, etc., etc. So supportive questions to make this table, fill in this table. The same goes with pains. And again, like I think 10 supportive questions to you. You know, what costs too much? How much is too much? What risks do they fear most? What is lacking in current value propositions in the market? So that we again can prioritize and define what are the, you know, top 10, let's say, pains of the customer. And the same goes with the customer jobs. It could be that you don't have customer jobs at all. In all the interviews, you only had gains. Imagine if we are, let's say, I don't know, if we are birthday party team. So we organize birthday parties. So we are completely on the gain side of the motivation, you know. So it could be that we don't have pain motivations at all. So we could leave that pain part empty at all. But at least one of these three must be filled in and carefully went through analyzing all these supportive questions. So that's really necessary. And it helps us to make, you know, those like, you know, top 3 or top 5 list. Why do we need this? It's because when we have this gains, pains, and customer jobs, we will start designing the gain creators, pain relievers, or products and services. And let me tell you how. When you have like top 3 gains of a customer, You just simply put them here. We need to think of, you know, the very concrete ways how this gain could be created to satisfy our customer. If we say that we want, I don't know, where's Amantas? Where's Amantas? I don't see Amantas. I see you, Amantas, yes. Again, a very good example to use. So I think you will accept it. When Amantas says an easy website to educational institution, when we say the gain is easy, so on the gain creator, we need to explain what is that easy? How are we gonna create this easiness? Amantas might say, that will be an automated content fill-in robot. You only open, you know, hey Siri, I want an update on my web page, and it simply goes there. We need to explain how are we going to create the easiness. If Ida says, my proposition or the gain to the customer is speed. So what is the gain creator? How that speed will come up? What will create this speed? Maybe we will say, you know, the quick login solution, the face recognition plugin, or well, something and something and something. I can't make it right now, you know. If Artemas says, I need a nutrition, solid, and fat-free meal. So maybe the gain is to eat a lot, but not gain weight. So what's gonna be the gain creator? So we have to be specific there. Maybe the fat-free meal. Maybe the I don't know, the Artemas knows better what type of meal could be used, like eating a lot but not getting weight. I mean, it's so this is when we have the gains as customer expectation, then we need to go into gain creator as already our solution, our idea of how are we going to create this value. I'm not sure if I'm clear enough with this explanation. The same goes with pains. We discover pains from the customer side. So again, we need to think from our side, what will be those pain relievers? For example, my friend has created, you know, a chocolate bars for, you know, for vegans, for those keto diet, you know, people, etc., etc. One of the pains was that chocolate, if you can't eat it, you know, all at once, so, you know, it could ruin your bag, it melts if it's, you know, warm in your pocket, etc., etc. So the problem is, usually the packaging is, you know, single-use packaging. So he said, you know, the pain reliever will be, you know, certain multiple-use package. So it's with those, you know, plastic zip or something. So so you can reuse it. So reusable package. Then the pain reliever, if the pain is you can't eat it all at once, he said the pain reliever will be smaller portion. So it's 90 grams. So the smaller, how do you call it? Smaller bar, smaller plate of the chocolate. Again, he said, people have addiction, kind of, you know, to sweets. They want sweet, you know, they want to treat themselves. So then he said, but you can treat yourself with healthy sweet, which has low sugar, low fat, and something else low. I can't remember. So I hope you discover this moment that, you know, when you start telling me all your ideas, they sound great, but then I want some structure behind so that we understand this problem and our solution is really focusing this concrete or facing or fighting or, you know, this concrete problem. Because sometimes what happens, we say we will have the fastest delivery. How? Well, you know, by just making the, you know, I don't know, the bolt or the how are those called, pavėžėjai, the, I forgot the name in English. So we will make, yes, we will make a community of you know, food delivery. So this is how it will be faster. Come on, but you have, you know, you have a huge infrastructure, the huge community, the huge communication and management issues, you know. Is it really making us faster? If yes, I'm okay with that. I'm good to go. But I need you to be convinced that this is really making you faster. So if we say, we will do it better, tell me how. So this is, you know, the need of a customer, and then it's our, you know, our something, our solution. So the same with customer jobs. There are very simple, concrete issues that customer wants to be, you know, checked, boxed, or whatever. We have it as a service or as a product. Again, it's not, you know, we don't need to fill in all these three areas. Maybe it's enough for us to focus on one, but again, it could be a couple of them. So this is why it is called the problem and solution fit, where our solution meets existing needs of a customer. And then we can connect. There's a gain of a healthy sweet. There is a solution of how to get it, how to make it. There's a special recipe or something. So there is a clear connection between these two. Because sometimes we say one, but we mean the other, and then it doesn't meet. So this is where it says the problem and solution fit when it's well balanced. We focus, we keep in mind, and we focus on the exact problem, and we design our business around it. So why is that important? Again, when we have all the, you know, features of our solution that are, you know, pain relievers and gain creators, we can again list them down and think, which ones of these are hygiene? Or which of these could be our competitive advantage? Because if we say we are going to build another petrol station, you know, so the petrol in the petrol station is hygiene. We can't compete with it. Well, maybe we have a specific formula or some miracles gonna happen, but in general, it's the simple hygiene. But how are we going to compete? We need to find out. So then, in this case, we need to continue thinking of these 5 areas: products, services, or features. List down your features. Identify the function that your solution does. Identify the technical value, the business value, and the personal value for the person who's using it. This is absolutely raw material to try and find out the potential competitive advantage of yours. Remember when, well, you should remember, when Revolut started developing their business and when they started just simply distributing their Revolut credit cards, well, debit cards, all around Europe, I guess. Well, at least all around Lithuania, everywhere, piles of Revolut. You go into a bookstore and they say at the cashier, well, maybe you want some, take 3. So, they were sure they have a competitive advantage at a very specific and a very concrete functionality. And at the very beginning, it was just simply a card, a mobile transfer, and that's it, nothing more. And now you see how it's developed. You can invest into stocks. You can invest into crypto. You can have family cards. You can insure yourself or items, or etc. You can even book a stay or air flight. You can buy commodities like gold, silver, etc. So there's plenty of stuff you can do with the same Revolut app. So they started with something, they got the market attention, and then they started developing, the additional services. But this was the strategy to enter the market. But the idea itself, I think, there's again, there's a solid, solid central, idea or a mission, that what they are keeping to. Why do we need all those features? Because we need to compare ourselves with something similar in market. One of those, killing questions, if after your pitch to investors, you get the question, could you please briefly tell what are you doing? So the pitch went wrong, Another question is, do you have competitors? And usually, the wrong answer is no, we are the only ones. It's hardly possible, guys. One or the other way, our customers, they actually solve their needs. We need to know it. If we don't know, we need to go home and do our homework. We need to know how our customer does the solution now, how he does the bank transfer now, how he does the web page for school now, how he does, whatever, name your idea, we need to know what's the customer behavior today. Then it's a lot easier to change it, to address and change, to improve, to make it easier, better, faster, whichever of these words you will choose. So that's why after we make all those interviews, characteristics of choosing the supplier of a service or supplier of a product must be clear to you. How does Ugnius choose whatever, glasses? If you are glasses making company, you should know exactly. Is it the design? Is it the price? Is it the image? Is it the brand name? Is it the speed? Is it 24/7 service? Whatever. Think of hundreds of characteristics, but know your segment and know characteristics that are important to your segment. And by these characteristics, compare yourself with others in the market. Then we will start noticing or sensing where is the potential. Because again, a little bit following the Augustina's question, again, we could go and fight in the red ocean, strategy, and we could go and fight the price. But me personally, I like to look for, empty spot. I would like to look for an empty position so that I could be at the very beginning a little monopoly, maybe. I want to say I'm the fastest, or I'm the greatest, or I'm most personalized, I'm most this, I'm most that, and be sharp on it and be exact on it. This is how we exponentially grow, not by just being another similar and a little bit different somewhere that customer doesn't care. So this approach could help you start finding, what's that one single feature that you can have. You could use these tables. You could fill in these with names of your competitors. Don't say that you don't have competitors. This would kill me. It could be that we also use the competitive positioning map. Sometimes I use it and I like it. When we have the most important criteria to the customer, and if we can narrow down to 2 in a certain scale, let's say, quality and maybe delivery time. So it's slow and low quality, slow and high quality, fast and low quality, fast and high quality. These would be specific, positioning spots. If you could actually put your competitors into this, how does it called, into this table, you also could probably notice that there might be empty position in the market. Of course, no one wants to be low quality and slow, because this is a little bit of a dead end strategy. Everybody will probably be in the high quality, high margins, high profits, high, whatever. But there are plenty of spots in between. And it could be that you say, okay, Ugnus, but there's no one who does slower but higher quality. And maybe my segment can wait. When you connect these dots, you start, you start noticing opportunities in the market. The positioning opportunity, the proposal opportunity. So I'm just, again, giving this very, very, very fast. These are 2 last slides, so that Darius and he already switched off. No.
I'm still have 1 hour. So
Yes, Dario, I see you. It's okay. Artyomas probably switched off already. But so why that idea is needed, so that we can finally formulate our value proposition statement. And there I will give you 2 structures of it. Our product, which is called this and that, helps specific customer segment do specific job, by we put there the problem, problem solving verbs, or eliminate pain, or either it's pain or gain, unlike the others in the market. So there's sometimes it's called unfair competitive advantage. More simpler structure is, it's a target customer who needs this and that and that. Our service, this and this, is specific product category, and then the statement of benefit. So you see, my idea is that from the, when you apply to the pre-acceleration program, so you came up with your ideas. But it's always a good idea to say, we are gonna do this much better than in the market. But now we want, all of us to really, expand our research into the competitive market, into the segmentation and the preferences of different segments, into specific features of our solution, technical, business, personal, etc. So that becomes more, more solid and more, thought through all of that concept. This is where I make stop to double check, are you with me? Because I just simply omitted all the information quickly. And now we could actually, make a Q&A session. If nothing is clear, so please be open and tell it. I'll start from the beginning. And please come up with questions. Is it clear what's that, one step after the other, and going deeper and deeper and deeper and connecting all the things? Elena, yes, please.
I just have one quick question. Could you please explain a little bit what the yellow card means? I get all of them except what you mean by buy, who want to do, for example, I don't know, website testing, buy.
It's actually, it's by releasing, by diminishing, by decreasing specific pain. It's by cutting the time to log in, for example, by making the document sign faster. So that's a little bit of, explanation of, how. Let's say the digital document signature solution. So by making the documents, document circulation a lot faster, let's say, so that, I send you, you sign, someone else signs at the same time, so we combine it. So this is how we make it a lot easier and faster and something like that. And it could be, by doing something and adding specifically on top of like user experience or nice design or aesthetical something, or, if that is important to your customer.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the question. Yes, Armina.
If you have a product or a service and you're thinking of it long term and you can see it developing into something, but at the stage where you're at now, you can only do like a small piece of your vision, so to say. Your value proposition should be adapted to where you are now or to your big vision.
I would talk about big vision, because where you are right now is just more of a tactics or strategy. So it depends on the scope.
And what about like doing two of them? Where I am now and where I'm wanna be, and just side by side.
Because, one leads to the other. So it's of course those are connected. I'm a little bit, sometimes I'm a little bit scared of, very broad ideas of changing the planet, changing the universe, changing the world. And investors are most likely to doubt, the very huge plans. But if there's a very concrete vision, for example, let's say, if Revolut says, our vision is to be top or number one selection or top of mind partner for your personal finance management app. So that's a long shot, to be number one selection for your personal finance management app. But when they started with a card, then, an app, of course, app and card, then, investment opportunity with 10 cryptocurrencies, now with like 20 or 30 or 50. So, it's then the strategy. How are you going to get into this #1 position, So then we add something else, then we add insurance, then we add this, then we add that, then we do reporting of expenditures, etc., etc. So it's probably, it's the way, how are we gonna get there as the top of mind position. But I think that big idea or that big plan must be somewhere in front of your I don't know, business, be it mission or be it a position statement, positioning statement. So it could be like, we are #1 app for financial operations. At the very beginning, it might sound too ambitious. But when you see all the developments, I would say they're strongly moving, step by step towards this position. And I don't know actually what's their ultimate position, but I guess. Because, it shouldn't be two. I mean, then which one is the priority, It's probably, the major, the bigger one is your priority, then it's only the one step, forward is this, the other step is that, the third step is this. It's a very strange week, it feels like Monday for me, but it's already Wednesday. So I'm, kind of a little bit, it's like a hangover, but it's just because of, messy, long and strange weekend. Yep. Augustine, yes, please.
It's the same for everyone, I think, Ugnis. Don't worry.
Thanks, God. Thank you very much.
I have a question about digging deeper. Is there a danger of digging too deep? And by that, I mean focusing too much on a too little segment. When do you know when to stop? Is what I'm asking.
That's a great question, Augustine. Fantastic question. And it's, we can have a chat, all of us here. I'm an overthinker type of a person. So, I would say that there's never too much of thinking, but I absolutely agree that there is. There's a great saying in the startup world. If you are absolutely calm and confident with your product being released to a market, you are too late. So this is something to really, how to say, think of. So there's always something that we still don't know. There's always something that we try and experiment with, going into the market. If we need if we need bunch of, pillows around me, so not to injure myself, all the data, statistics, market research, this and that and that and that, it could be that we are too late because, it takes time to really investigate everything. So I would say there is a certain feeling that, look, this direction shows some potential. This segment showed an interest in this type of a solution, MVP, and let's test it like, in a real market. Doesn't work, we change, we pivot, we do something different. Doesn't work, again, we reshape and change. Maybe the answer is, that trial and error actually works in a startup world. But my type of, person, I don't like errors that much. So that's why I say, okay, there is a certain information, certain preparation that I can make. That, it doesn't, all of these interviews, it doesn't take, bunch of our time. We can make 6 interviews over 1 week, guys, and that's it. And that's a bunch of information. So I would say, I don't know how to formulate the answer, Augustine, but there's a certain, if that's enough for you to decide to make an experiment, I would say that's enough. Go and do the experiment instead of really, trying to really, convince that this is absolutely, something that's going to work. I don't know the better answer for that. Maybe colleagues can join me as well. How much do you, see, nobody is digging. Joking. I'm joking.
The very first anecdote that you mentioned, I think, it captures their idea very well. I think because that basically how I understand it is that it's impossible to avoid risk. At the end of the day, you will have to risk, and that's the whole purpose of doing a startup, basically. So.
But to add a little bit more, Augustine, in a startup world, this risk must be the minimum possible cost. So that's why I doubt that we will make great businesses from the very first idea, from the very initial concept. We will need to make few iterations to really polish, the value proposition. So there are no startups that made their idea as it was planned from the very beginning. You have a hypothesis, you double check, this is the direction we should try. Okay, let's go there. Ooh, doesn't work. Okay, we can reshape it and do this. Let's go there, this way. Boom, doesn't work. Okay, let's think of who else might need this. B2B sector, let's move there. Okay, it works. There's attraction. They are interested. And, you go deeper there. So that's the idea of, later in this program, you will talk about MVP, so the quickest possible way to check the market reaction. So that's also, how to say, in answering your question. Franciscus is very patient and very calm and very poker faced. Elena switched off her hand. We will still get back to you, Elena, but Franciscus was first. Yes.
I'm trying to be calm, Yeah, I have a question about those tables comparing us with competitors, about characteristics and criteria. Should we focus on big picture there as well, or what we have now?
On one hand, if you have, those interviews where you also dig into, pre-purchase experience. So how did the customer select what they selected? And, the after purchase experience, what was the, after the use of the service, you could already have certain skeleton, of those criteria. Sometimes you really, talk with a team and discuss and imagine who's your customer. If your customer is I don't know, the city, mostly the capital, living person at his 30s, the peak of his career. So, his ability to pay 30 euros monthly for a service probably is, no problem. So all those, how to say, assumptions, sometimes you make it, sometimes you think of it and you have it in your, that concept list. And then you go to the market and check it, as Augustine has just asked. I think this should work. Bang, we do an experiment. pool. Nobody bought, our solution for 30 euros. Then we dig deeper why it didn't work. Maybe the segment was wrong. Maybe our, pricing is wrong. Maybe our positioning is wrong. Remember, I told you the example of a Porsche car maker's mistakes, let's say, the segmentation mistake, the pricing mistake, or something like that. So I would say it's, again, we need to, if there are resources around, if there's some data that we can buy or we can Google, we can collect, either it's McKinsey, Accenture, BCG reports, Deloitte reports, some of the market research data, and how to say, to enrich our understanding of those criteria, then it's fine, absolutely fine to add. But my dream, or my vision would be if we can empathize with our customers' behavior and kind of, drill into their brain, understanding how they choose, that would be the dream come true. I think, it's that would be the very important and very valuable information for us. So sometimes what's really an interesting moment, the design thinking process also says, expose yourself to the situations your customers have. Try to be your customer, your own customer. Try to pretend you are your own customer. And there was a Hollywood movie, I think, the name was probably What the Woman Wants, or it's called like that. When an advertising agency, was making a specific advert for women, and the guy actually went womanish to really understand, how females think. This is something that we need to actually, how to say, pretend and try and experiment. Not sure, Francisco, if I was exact on your question, but I don't know how to explain this. It's a little bit balancing between knowing and allowing ourselves not to know, but making our experiments as narrow as possible, as targeted as possible. So at least we need to say what we don't know and what is that we want to experiment. We cannot experiment with too many factors or too many, too many characteristics, let it be, We cannot experiment, on quality, on price, on delivery, on quantity, on this, on packaging, on this, on that, and that, and that. Because then we will not be clear why the customer is, making one or the other choice, one or the other decision. So at least the ones that we can actually answer and already, check as already marked, understood, explained, how to say, decomposed already, again, put back into whole, so this is something, some of these exercises that we try to do with any type of idea. And there's, one or two that we don't know, let's go and experiment. So this is, I would say, the safest possible way, instead of knowing everything, but also having something to experiment. I'm talking too much, yes, but that's the Monday, Wednesday problem, guys. Simone.
Pretty much every slide you showed today is some sort of a table that we have to fill in. So do we have to do that until Friday or discussed with you in person or something?
First of all, it could be quite possibly that you don't need all the tables. For example, if you are a funeral service company, you would probably focus on pain motivation, because this is something that you need to focus on, because your customer has a big problem and they need to deal with it. So probably you would skip the customer job table or the gain table, which is maybe secondary and not this important. So on one hand, it could possibly be that you don't need all the slides. On the other, I want you just to really, how to say, to see this algorithm, from one step to the other, from the other to the third, from the third to the fourth. If you want, on our one-on-one, we can discuss, which parts of this process you need. I'm not insisting you to fill in these, up until Friday, because it's hard and or maybe you have material in it and you could do this with your team quite easily. Because, all those, prioritizing, when we have all those interviews in our heads, it's quite easy. And it really helps. So I trust you, and I say, if you confirm that you investigated your idea without being too much in love with it, so I then trust you, we move on. If I will see that you have, addiction to your idea, without, so to say, without, rational answers, so then I will ask, can we please come back to this table, and could you please show me how did that actually came out? And it's not necessarily you have to have it. You can say, okay, Ugnos, we haven't done it. We can make it so that we are clear about this or the other feature. So I know, Simone, it's not a concrete answer, but not all the tables, up to your choice, so that you are yourselves convinced and very strongly sure about your idea, your product, your service, and your competitive advantage. But please don't run too fast and say, we will be this and that and that, because there's no one in the market doing this. No, please go through these stages, like the customer problem, then what's the solution, what's the problem and solution fit, then what's the priority for the customer, then what's the value proposition, and then the final sentence.
And what are we going to do on Friday? That's the workshop.
The workshop will be about the value proposition, which then later transforms to your, sometimes to a slogan, sometimes to a one-sentence promise. So I will show you a couple of examples of, I think, good value propositions, how they are formulated and how they are narrowed down to specific value. So we will end up, so 2 weeks will end up with understanding the problem that you are focusing, understanding or at least knowing the segment that has this problem, and having a very clear value proposition statement of yours. It's either option 1 or option 2 by the given template. And this is, this is extremely lot if we can make it quality. Then it's like very easy. The question is how to do this business. So I would see a good result of these 2 weeks. And of course, on top of that, you have had at least a little bit of experience to interview, to interpret, to structure. If you go with another idea someday, So you could use the same algorithm, you could use the same methodology to be a lot faster in defining what you are willing to do with your business. So, summing up to 2 weeks result. Any other questions? Yeah, for me, it feels like a little bit, you know, messy process, but I did my best to explain it as concrete as possible. Of course, when you will go through these slides, you know, and try and match and try and think, as please, honestly, you know, you use my time, ask questions, ask, you know, on Messenger, don't wait too much on the until the one-on-ones. By the way, there are time slots already I gave to Victoria, and she probably already put the file into the SharePoint, so you could choose the one-on-one times. This week is short, so there are, but I think we can all fit into these time slots. If you will see that there are no suitable times, we'll agree on another time, you know, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, just write me, you know, personal message and we can arrange the time. The great value proposition is something, you know, that could, when we hear it, it sounds, you know, if it's quality, it sounds very sharp and simple. But the content behind helps us to really believe it. And if we are actually, you know, well prepared with our value proposition, so none of the investors' questions could actually, you know, mess us around or disturb us. If they say, how do you know? We did this and that interview. If they say, what's the market? We say, this is the segment, this is the market. If they say, do they have really this pain? We might say, we have investigated, or we have done experiment sales, or we already have revenues, you know, we already do it. So there's plenty of material in this content that we have done with you, or still will do. How about, guys, okay, I have one question to you. How about those interviews? Is someone still carrying, is someone still planning to do some interviews, or you are all done already? Do you have something in pipeline, or you are? Yes, Dario.
Yeah, I did a few one, but I'm still going to do some more because.
More. Okay.
Same here.
Yes, Mario, my messenger is on Facebook. It's Ugnius Savickas. You can find me easily. Shall I write it down, or? But it's my name and surname. Any others? How about those interviews? Satisfied, disappointed, works well? A nonsense start of the pre-acceleration? Which one of these? Armina, tell us the truth.
Yeah, no, I've conducted many interviews before joining the accelerator. So basically everyone I could have talked to, I've already talked to.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I didn't use that specific list about empathy interviews. I wish I had known about it when I was talking to them. I think I did something similar, only I made the mistake of asking them about at the end about what my idea is. So I messed that up.
It's very important, Armina, for yourself to be very conscious and to separate those answers. You know, because if all of them said, it's nice, do it, yes, you know, it's always pleasure to hear answers like that. You know, it kind of inspires us, but very often it's, you know, misleading. again, I'm going back to this unconscious lie concept. If people don't want to insult you, they will say that that's a great idea, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, it doesn't mean it will work in the market. So this is where I want you to be very, very, on one hand, you know, self-critical, or not self-critical, it's more the idea critical, and then to really, you know, conduct those, you know, small experiments, little experiments, and then have this, how to say, puzzle put into one big picture, one big piece.
Yeah.
But
do you, what,
yeah.
if you have, sorry, if I,
No, it's okay.
If you have, my personal startup is a B2B, so I talk to companies. And if I have someone in the company saying, I'm interested, I want to work with you, let me know when you launch, is that like a good feedback to have, or is it still not enough?
It's I would say it's you know, warm lead when you will create something, but it means nothing.
Okay.
Until they pay euros, it doesn't mean anything. On the other hand, when you say you talk to companies, how come you are able to talk to companies?
Can you put it in other words? What do you mean? Like how?
Who's the company?
In my case, it's the HR manager, because they are the ones who are going to buy.
So you talk to HR managers?
Yes.
Not to the company?
Yes.
There's no such thing as a company. I mean, the companies, you know, something is the way how people are organized. Again, pay attention, guys. We talk to people. So they are of a specific position in a company. So that's why, you know, still we are talking about their experiences. When you do the B2B business and you try to sell something to them, most likely you will need to convince how to show 9 different positions, 9 different roles in the company. You will need to deal with, you know, CFO, CEO, whatever, the secretary, or you know, or the assistant, the process manager, the even the, you know, the night shift manager or guard, or etc., you name it. And then it's again about some personal experience. You know, you can come in and say, this is an extremely rational solution for your business. But if a person feels that it's a complete mess to work with you, they will resist you. So in B2B world, it's, I would say, even more important to understand personal experience, because they make decisions and they are responsible. If they go to the board of management and say, we want Rockies, you know, as our contractor, so they have to be convinced, you know, more than twice, because they actually advocate for you. So this is where they have to be sure that it will work out with you. So that's why our intention to satisfy, our intention to create the great experience, the great customer experience, is even more important in B2B relationship rather than in B2C. In B2C, you had the deal, and, you know, in some cases, you will never ever meet him again or her. In B2B, it's but again, I'm talking about those situations when we create businesses for life. I mean, it's, we value the loyalty, we value relationship, we value the, you know, maybe the partnership, you know. So that's why talking to businesses is, first of all, talking to people, understanding what are their, again, what are their criteria, How do they choose? What is important, for them? How we make them confident that they are not making a mistake by choosing us as a provider. So thanks for your question, Armina, but that opens to me again that human to human relationship instead of me and the company. Sorry to catch this part, but I mean, it's there's no such thing as a company. You talk to people. Whew. Anything else to add? Until we are on these 2 weeks on value proposition. So it starts with problem, understanding the hypothesis, point of view, then the problem, then the problem solution or solution and problem fit, then the segmentation, and then we have the value proposition sentence. If you have, or if you will develop your value proposition statements, so our one-on-ones could actually be about the sentence itself, so that we are productive. If you still don't have it, I'm okay to spend time with you, talking about how to get to it, but then I will need a short introduction of where are you, what have you done, what have you discovered already. But yes, for the ones that you feel that you have it, if you come to me with a sentence, we can work on it. And then, of course, I will ask questions. Why do you say this is important to your customer? I hope you have an answer. Pum, 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 pum. Karina, are you with us? Yes, thank you.
Yes, I am.
Any questions?
No, I think it was quite clear what to do next. So we still have a few interviews this week, so we have to wait until they're all finished, and then we will dig into the things you just explained.
And of course, there's all of these guys and girls here, they all have tables. And I'm absolutely sure half of them have back pains. But remember, is it the back pain we are trying to solve? Or is it that we make them be more like, up to date and technology friendly and, have the classical table, height adjusted? For example, Eamon has a table that is not height adjustable, and he might need it because he works a lot with behind the computer. I'm just trying to wake him up. Okay, sorry for these jokes, guys, but any other questions? Because if it's clear, I'm okay to end up now and wish you good luck with more interviews and with your sentences and with all the tables. I will send the presentation to Victoria, and she will hopefully upload it so that you have everything. Other than that, private messaging and your questions. Yes, Tade.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question regarding these interviews. So the thing is that I had them, and actually what I've heard more or less I've already had in my head, and I'm just like missing some extra pieces, and it seems quite difficult because the answers they are, let's say, at some point quite different, but overall the main idea is more or less same. So how can I get some more information which would help me, or I mean some like insights, because I have like trend opinion, but how about some extra things? Yeah.
Sometimes what I do when there's a feeling of like we know everything, what I do, Tade, is I try different industry. I try extreme people, so I interview someone from very opposite industry, like I don't know, person in prison, person somewhere else, person of a completely different profession. So then then these experiences could, provoke some insights on the usability, on the, interface or something like that. Sometimes it's good to talk to kids. Kids have tremendous fantasy. Kids they are not spoiled. They are not, they are not damaged yet by the social life. Their fantasies sometimes come up with very interesting insights. For example, we had one interview when I was leading the ISM executive school. We made an interview with kindergarten kids, and we asked, how do you think you will learn in the future, and what? And they said, there was one little girl, she said, and I will learn whatever I want. And in this little sentence, you can really find, absolutely amazing insight that the future is absolutely 100% customizable content. How can you make, for example, a bachelor's or a master's program that would be 100% customizable? So you take this insight, and also kind of, work with it a little bit. And then we had plenty of discussions about this one little tiny sentence. We had sessions on our team where we really were thinking about, like, university-wide concept of having a program of little small pieces where a student can design for himself. I don't know if that works, in your case, but I mean, insights from absolutely unexpected auditoriums, or how to say, professions, age groups, experiences, different experiences. We call it either extreme users or even extreme non-users. There's again another tip. When you already have customers, what we usually do, we go and ask our existing customers. But it's, as you said, Tadas, it's in that same bubble, What we did in our case, when we were developing our newest strategy, we made a focus group of extreme non-users. So we invited companies that never have had contract with us. That was, again, very interesting, different approach to understand why they don't even consider us as a training provider. So maybe just, it's not that I know the answer, it's just what I think about your question. Maybe colleagues could add also, what would you do if you feel like you know everything?
I don't feel so.
No, Tadas, wait. We are just provoking them. We are waking up them. Couple more minutes and we are done for today. So no pressure. But what do you do when you feel like you know everything? Hey, Monty, what do you do when you feel like you know everything about your customer?
Actually, nothing. I'm in a situation when I really know a lot of, and when I stuck, I'm asked to come in my team new members, and the new members now they fighting with me, I have a lot of knowledge that they asking like you, why?
Mhm. Nice. Yeah. So Imantas's approach is to invite people to the team and have different, points of view. Yes.
I also think if you really feel like you know everything and like you see redundancies, it's always the same, and you maybe try different groups as well. Maybe it's also like a point where you're ready for the next step because you found out what the customer wants, what the pains, gains, etc. are. So you can maybe do the next experiment.
Yes. Nice, Karina. Yes, that's a very good point. Mhm. We have time for one more question or something that you want simply to add. Maybe something has been unsaid today and you feel like it must be mentioned. Yes, Eamon.
One story. In the first of pandemic time, I was walking in my garden with my neighbor, and he is a call center. The guy who calls, he knows nothing about products. He just called. He asked, "Hi, I want to sell you website." And client said, "Okay, it's interesting." And he sit down and how? Why? Why he said that it's okay?
Yes.
And that's how we start a little bit grow.
Okay, so you started just simply cold calling and selling.
Yeah. And then he understand the product and he understand all things, what we and why do. Actually, we don't know why we do because we have one session with you. But it's a new guy who really no tech guy. He's selling like tech product, but he is no tech guy.
Nice.
It's really good point.
That's again another important moment to mention. About the go out and try. If it works, it works. If it clicks, it clicks. So at least there's a reaction. Of course, there will be time when you will have to fight the competition. There will be time when you will be asked, why do I need the web page? Why do I need your page? So then you will be prepared to answer. But that's that's a great experience. That's a great success. So it could be the right segment. It could be the right timing. It could be the right, I don't know, the right value, right proposition, right moment to call, etc., etc. But it's important to really understand why we were successful so that we are able to repeat this success. Because sometimes, what happens with businesses, it's called the beginner's luck. So we were the first one just to simply call the school and say, maybe you need a webpage. But if we face that we are third ones to call, and then we will need to convince why us, we better are prepared for that. And there was someone had also a hand before we started talking to Imantas, or I'm mistaken. I have Mirage.
I had my hand up, Ugnis, but I'm not sure that if we have time left now. So
absolutely, we have 9 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Safely.
Okay, so good. My question was about, again, the analysis that we were talking about for the second week now. If at any point you start to realize that your idea is perhaps not the correct one and you have made some wrong assumptions, what should be your next steps? Should it be to start from scratch? Should it be to kind of step back? Or I mean, what's the procedure in those cases?
Fantastic question. Very good. I need to very quickly. I need to show you one picture. Just I will Google it. It could be just simply a random process of design thinking, which is that I like. Just a moment. Whichever. Well, let's take that one. Oh shit, this is video, sorry. So I need just simply the picture. Yes, and I share the screen. Yeah, so that's a simply random process. So this is the design thinking process. We empathize, interviews, shadowing, seek to understand, non-judgmental. So this is where I kept you first week. Then we define. So it's a persona, decision, challenge, pain point, etc. So this is where we are now. We try to define the problem. Then you ideate what is the best way to solve that pain of our customer. Then we do prototype, MVP, or whichever phase that would be, and we test in the market. And your question, Augustinus, is a very good one, because if test doesn't work in the market, it could be that we need to get into any of these. So first of all, we might think, okay, were our assumptions right? Maybe just a prototype is a little bit different or a little bit difficult to understand. Then we go back just simply one step and change the prototype. Maybe, it could be that our client didn't get the idea of our product or service at all. So then probably we need to go back to ideation and choose another idea for our product. But if need exists, but maybe we were a little bit wrong in defining the core need. Maybe it's not the speed that they need, or its image, or its reputation, or its quality, or its something, authenticity, personalization, blah, 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 whatever. So maybe the definition part was a little bit mistaken, but maybe it's not the right word to call mistaken. Maybe just simply, we tested this definition and it didn't work. So then we go back and test another definition. So it depends, on which part we think we should fix, or we should pivot. Sometimes it really happens that we were maybe mistaken in assumptions at the empathy level, on the empathy level. So then we need to come back to, those interviews and analyze again what was actually in those interviews as the core content. So there's no one rule fits all, so it's after we gave it to the customer and customer tested it, then we need a proper, feedback from the customer. And we then know which phase should we, back up which phase we should go back and repeat it.
And Ugnis, these steps are made in this 3-month period, yeah? Like we are trying to put them.
It will not be exactly one-to-one. I mean, I have this in mind as mentality of our program, but the design of a program follows at least some logics of it, So we started with empathy. We go into the, point of view statement is absolutely the part of definition. You will later on work with your business model and business idea, which is like more of an ideation. Because when you know the problem, you will come up to me with your value proposition statement. So I will start, I will start looking at you as if these are your ideas. Of course, you will go into prototype when you will talk about MVP and how to enter the market, etc. So there is logic. It's not just one-to-one, like, you know, step-by-step copy of this process. If you will be interested in the design thinking, so just simply let me know. We can make a separate workshop, or I can share something to read. I'm very much into it, and it really helps me, I would say. So it's as for the answer. Yes, Tade.
Yeah, actually, what we're about to do is, it involves IT, and everyone knows that IT is expensive. And maybe not a good question, but anyway, I'm gonna ask, what would you do in our case? Would you wait to end this program like 2 months more for now, or 2.5, and then start doing? Or because there might be some changes on the way, and might be core changes, which would mean that IT would delete part of their job that we already paid, and they would start from scratch. And we are not that big, you know, to burn money as some big companies might do. So what would be your choice?
Well, just, you know, one of the regular answers is don't wait. Just, you know, I mean, it's if you have certain assumptions, if you have certain, how to say, certain steps you want to experiment, and you feel you can do it now, so do it now. I mean, also you can use all the mentors in this program. If you feel that, for example, you want to hit the market sooner than we will have the module on it, you can directly talk to Gražvydas or to Aurelia, you know, the ones that have their weeks, because you know, it's the speed that is important as well. So Tade, I would say just dive into those experiments.
Okay, thanks.
You know, because you know, we should not be the slowing down program. I mean, it's okay. I see Ida left already. Very helpful. Unfortunately, Thomas said thanks. Okay, Messenger, thank you. Need to go. Darius, have a great training. I know he's learning something more. I don't know, guys. I don't have anything else to add. You know, I'm a little bit concerned not to mess you up too much. So I hope it helps to also proceed with the content that you collected from interviews. And I'm waiting to meet you one-on-one, you know, to really, how to say, concentrate and focus and help you define next steps. If that's okay, I'm glad I saw you. It was nice meeting you, and the journey continues.
Okay, thanks, Agnes.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Thank you, bye.
Wednesday, Monday nightmare. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.